All right, so we're going to do the walk-in?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, welcome to our podcast. We have got a name, right?
These are the days.
These are the days.
This is our new walk-in.
That just a new technique.
Did you guys like the walk-in? Let us know in the comments if we should do the
So
walk-in.
who's this guy? That's Darren Jr.
And this is Darren Sr.
Yeah, all his friends call me Senior. It used to be, it was just you. Now it's just Senior. I'm just an old man.
No, you're young.
Trying to,
You're like the Golden Bachelor.
Trying to keep off the carbs. No carbs.
No carbs. No.
I didn't have toast this morning.
Good job. What did you have?
I had sausages.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
No, that's good. Paleo.
And eggs.
Yeah. Good.
Scrambled.
Yeah.
Not dipped, so I didn't eat any toast. So carbs. So
do you think scrambled eggs are the best eggs?
With ketchup. And ketchup's really not that bad. Oh, I got a ketchup, it's not that bad. And you know what? I feel bad for sugar.
Why is that?
Well, like granulated sugar.
Yeah.
Because it gets a bad rep.
It does,
now, like a lot of people drink their coffee. What's that stuff called? Like the Okamonka and the Uka Buka. No, all that flavored stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, do you want any coffee with your almond syrup?
True.
Right? It's all, and have you seen the calories in that, in one of those bottles? It's massive.
Really?
Where back in the old days, I'll have, a teaspoon of sugar, like the white sugar.
Yeah.
Granulated. It's like 20 calories for like a tablespoon.
I know, that's crazy.
Sugar's got a bad rap.
It does, really. It's just there's so many, like you have a Coca-Cola and you see the amount of sugar that's in one can of Coca-Cola. It's pretty shocking.
Well, they used to say like 40%.
But
that's wrong because I think we argued about that. I think it's like 18% is pure sugar.
Are you sure it's not like if the can's this tall, there's like this much sugar in it?
No, I think I checked.
Maybe it's not that bad. But still, compared to one, like in coffee, if you put a teaspoon of sugar in it, it definitely sweetens it up enough. Here was going to be my new book. Remember, I think I said on earlier podcasts, I like those books like The 1 Minute Manager or Who Moved the Cheese. Yeah. About
those books that are written in a grade 6 English, easy to read, has a message, takes you about an hour to read them. I was going to come out with one, and and mine was going to be Eat Sugar for Dinner.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because here's what happened. This is with me. I don't know about you there, but with me, and you've got a bit of a sweet tooth too, but with me, what I would do is have, dinner. And usually I like salt. So I'm having chicken or maybe steak or pork chops with potato. And so I've had all this sort of salt. So I've already eaten probably 1,000 calories, and it's like probably 7 o'clock because we're not eating at 5 like you should. Right. Eating later at 7. So then what? Now I'm like, I'll have a bowl of cereal. Now we're munching out and we want some sugar, right?
Right.
So the eat sugar as a principle is eat your sugar for dinner, right? Have oatmeal with brown sugar. Eat sweet stuff for dinner, because what'll happen is after dinner you're not going to crave the sweet stuff.
True.
Whereas if you're going to have a regular dinner, with your, and we all like salt and that, with a guy like me and probably a lot of you out there, is now you want to eat sugar. So now you're like almost doubling your calories. So just eat sugar for dinner. I don't know if it's, FDA approved or Canadian,
or like
probably not.
You're talking like have something on your plate that's sweet so that you don't crave it after.
True. Or I was thinking actually all just, have like a fruit cocktail or a fruit salad for dinner.
Right, like healthy sugars for dinner.
Well, even, if you're going to have that pie, eat it for dinner. Eat half of the pie, but just don't eat anything after that, right? Like, eat sugar. You don't think it would work?
I don't know about this system.
Okay. Well,
but hey, try it, and then, maybe like 3 months down the line, if your old is even thinner, then it's like...
I did try it.
And?
Then after I had the sugar, then guess what? I wanted potato chips and I wanted the salt. So that didn't work either. But try it,
It's a flawed
It's
system.
hit and miss. It's almost like real estate. I try an ad. You never know if the ad's going to work.
Right.
Right? But you just try it. And, and here's the thing. Oh, off topic.
Well, when it comes to because with your exercise and weight loss, you're really good at cutting weight. Your problem is you go a little bit like this.
Not this time,
So this time's going to be different.
No, this time's harder. Like usually, I drop it quicker. This is harder a little bit. I had that, pretty bad fall on my head. That could maybe be my problem. But And, I don't know, I'm just not losing it quite as quick. So
I think that because we're getting kind of in the rainy time of year and you walk a lot.
Yeah, and I haven't been walking, yes.
Yeah, so I think the more that you walk, coupled
right.
with your better diet,
right.
I think, it's like you simplify it.
Right.
Move more, eat less, right?
Yeah. So almost, or, the other one I tried was, like basically starvation, right? It's like I read that book or read an art out. It wasn't a book. It was a blog post.
Are you talking fasting?
Yeah, that 16-hour fast and then eat in that 8-hour window.
That
so
works
I
well
did
for a lot of people, and like for people gaining muscle too.
Yes,
a lot of people do that, and it works really well for them, surprisingly.
Right. So where I find it was working for me is, in the morning when I'm hungry, it's like you can feel those fat burning things inside going. It's probably eating all the love handles and stuff, right?
Maybe.
But it just, and then the problem is in that 8-hour window, I was probably eating too much because I was starving myself. Mm-hmm. So I guess the key is balance.
Figure out what works for you.
Balance.
It's like what we talked about in the last podcast with golf. Figure out what works for you.
Balance is hard.
Balance is hard.
The more that you can, I guess balance is good in everything, right?
100%. I think so.
In golf, you need to balance between your short game, your long game.
Yeah, they do say though that like you hear a lot that successful people have a burning obsession with something. Yeah. And typically if you have a burning obsession with something, you're not necessarily 100% balanced.
Right.
Like I was watching that new Starting Five on Netflix.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like the NBA version of Full Swing, and they follow 5 NBA players. And talk about LeBron, and he's been like the longest sustaining player ever in the NBA to play at that level. Right. But he had a wife that allowed him to focus really hard on his game. Right. Right. So, maybe he wasn't necessarily the most balanced, but he had people around him willing to pick up the slack where he was lacking.
That's a good point, because exactly like your mom, my wife, Leanne of 35 years, long time. She, back in the day, now it changes after 35 years of marriage, but, it was always, I'm running in, running out. And Leanne was amazing because she would have my clothes ready to go. She would iron my shirts. We had the luxury that Leanne could stay at home with the kids and help me with business. But she really quarterbacked the household from getting you guys ready to go to school. And we were really lucky, and I'm blessed on that. And really be able to quarterback me where, my clothes were ready to go. I'd run in and run out. So, that kept me balanced. So if you can, and it's hard because...
Find somebody that balances you
out.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And maybe you need to balance your spouse out, or your partner out, because, it goes both ways. So
sometimes you can't choose what you're passionate about too, right? If your passion takes up a lot of time, or you've made your passion your livelihood. Right. Chances are you can't be balanced. You have to put the time in. Right. You put the time in. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. You're an early riser and you work up until.
What are some not to interrupt you, but what are some things, I don't know, some tips for life tips that we can share? Well, I'll kick off with one. You can think of probably some that, but success leaves clues. I said that to you. So if something works and it's working good for you, then scale it. Just do more of it. A lot of times we spend, a lot of our activities doing something else that might not be, best use of your time. So really, to live in balance, find out what works.
Right. I was thinking about this the other day watching The Voice. Snoop Dogg's on The Voice. I don't know if anybody's been watching, but it's really good.
And my man. But you guys said he's a bit of a...
No.
Well, Leanne was sort of trashing him.
I liked him.
Mom was trashing him a bit.
No, but as the season's gone on, you can really respect the advice that he's giving to the singers.
So why was Mom sort of throwing him under the bus a little bit? She loves Snoop.
Yeah. I think because he's kind of like, they definitely ham it up on those shows where they're all kind of like playing a role, and they do skits within the judges to kind of keep it entertaining.
Okay, yeah.
So I think some of the stuff that he's doing isn't necessarily direct.
He's a little Canadian? Think about that.
I think he has this...
little quiet.
He has this
not
thing
boastful.
Where he like lies. So he'll like say something and he'll be like, the musician will be looking for advice, and then Michael will say, he'll basically just say it's like a skit. It's like funny, but it'll be like a lie. And they'll be like, oh, Mike's such a liar. Like, he's always lying.
Oh, okay.
And it's like supposed to be funny, but I think that like maybe people don't like lying. They don't like liars.
Well,
so not the smartest marketing move.
Right.
I don't think that's his actual personality. So I think that might be what's throwing some people off. But like I said, the advice that he's giving, and he's a very nice guy. So we're not throwing old Mikey boobs under the bus.
Right, because I saw that documentary with
David
Foster, our Victoria guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a guy that went from, Victoria, I think Epson on Cedar Hill, to one of the biggest producers of all time.
That's wild.
Yeah. As you know, he used to come to Victoria, I think, before you're born.
We've had some very legendary people come out of Victoria on this island.
We have.
You think of the David Fosters, you think of Steve Nash. That's two-time MVP in the NBA. There's not
Brian Adams' parents lived on Triangle Mountain.
Do they?
They did.
Nice.
I don't know if they still do.
Right on.
We've had some...
Nelly Furtado.
Yeah,
she had a huge moment in like early 2000s. Victoria.
We just haven't hit the Darren Jr. music though, right?
Yeah, it's coming though. It's coming.
It's hard to beat Junior though, right? Because anything you do is just like, oh yeah, Dad's got some cash. Now he finances it himself.
There's a a give and take with that.
Yeah.
I feel lucky. You've given me a lot of opportunities. But there's also,
it's tough to be, okay.
It's not easy to do these things regardless of how many opportunities you have.
He's picked the two hardest things to do. Try to be a professional golfer and then try to be a rock star. Those are two sort of lofty challenges. So, we'll see, you never know.
See how it pans
Rome
out.
wasn't built in a day.
Exactly.
He did, I will give you a shout out. He was playing in Scottsdale, Arizona with, three MLB guys, right? It was spring training in Scottsdale.
Yes, that's interesting. So it's funny how you surround yourself with amazing people and then all of a sudden you start doing amazing things. So my lowest round of golf I played, I shot 11 under at a golf course called McCormick Ranch.
Right.
And I got paired with 3 players that were in town for spring training. They played in the MLB. So they weren't experienced golfers, but the way they were talking was very like...
Which teams, remember? I think, wasn't it Texas or...
Would have been Colorado probably because they train out
LA
there.
maybe?
Yeah, LA maybe.
Okay. And what did you shoot?
I shot 61.
Right.
On a 72 with 2 bogeys.
Shot my age.
Almost
my age. Almost.
Not yet. But yeah, you surround yourself with amazing people, and I guess the way that they're talking just gave me that little bit of extra like.
What was it though? Like how do you get in? Like to shoot 61 for any of you know on a par 72, that's a really good score.
Yeah.
If you shoot that all the time.
Well, you would be. Yeah.
He wouldn't be in the podcast.
Maybe I'd probably still do the podcast with you, Dad.
Okay.
But it was one of those days where. I didn't even know what I was
were you drinking heavily?
No.
That sometimes helps my golf game, but no,
booze involved. Just making every putt and hitting every shot good.
Were you trying to because I'd think it's like...
We were having fun.
Because there's 2 ways can go. You get on the tee, and you guys have all been there. You're suddenly... Remember they used to announce you to the tee? And could we get the Joneses for some?
Yeah.
And so you're up on the tee, and you're literally shaking because you're probably not used to the club. You're a guest. And then you miss the ball entirely. So it can either go 2 ways. You can either cave or you play good. And I could just, suddenly it's like me. If I'm going to go golf and then I see it's, like with you, you're good. So you're my son. So you can play with Dad who's a hack. But, if suddenly you're playing with 2 other guys that are, great players, I'm like, I get too nervous. I don't even want to almost play. So now you're getting on the tee. And now, did you know right away that they were Major League ball players?
I didn't, but you could kind of tell by the clothes they were wearing and the way that they were like in good shape.
Okay.
And stuff. So I knew they were athletes. I didn't know they were MLB. But as we started talking about it, I think it's the way that they just talked about the game, because I told them I was a mini tour golfer, pro golfer and stuff, and they just assumed that it's like PGA Tour.
Okay,
oh, so you're on the tour, that's right. Great. And I said, well, no, not quite. I'm playing mini tour stuff, but they talked to me like I was a PGA Tour.
Oh, that's cool.
And they kind of it puts you in the mind frame of I'm good enough to play on that tour. It put me in that mind frame where all of a sudden I had this inner cockiness. They all have an inner cockiness. It didn't come across in what they were saying, but it's in their whole vibe. Even though they sucked at golf.
Yes.
You know,
they probably hit it a mile.
They would have thought that on a good day they could have beat me.
Right.
It was like that kind of thing. They're just competitive, right?
Right.
So I think it was kind of like I had a little chip on my shoulder and I wanted to show them what
just sort of impress them, sort of thing.
Impress them, yeah. Like this is what a high level of golf.
Yeah. Because you could go the other way too. You suddenly, I'm a mini tour player, and then you shoot 90.
You start sucking.
Right. We've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing is. And I think in the moment, it's like when things matter, it's just amazing how people look at, we were talking when watching the Major League Ball the other night with the Dodgers and the pressure on those pitchers.
Yeah.
You're saying it's probably the most pressure on any sport.
Yes. Big time.
Or maybe a guy trying to hit
free throws.
You're right.
Yeah, it's tough because it's not only like in golf, at least if you miss the putt or if you miss a shot, it's affecting you and it's affecting your caddy.
Right.
And but if you're a pitcher, Major League Ball, you got a full stadium there watching, and you got your whole team.
Right.
And the ball's in your hand.
Right.
So that is pretty. But you don't think about it like they're so trained mentally that it's you don't think about it like that.
Right.
You got to go in fearless, and you got to go in just. You deserve to be there. It's the same. I would imagine it's the same thing as going into a listing appointment. You got to go into the listing appointment assuming that you're going to get the listing.
Yeah, you're almost shocked if you don't get it.
Exactly. You have to have that attitude.
Right.
In anything you do. Or we talked in that one podcast about cold calling. It's got to be the same thing in that too. You can't go in like, hello?
Right.
Don't hang up kind of thing. It's like you got to go in with the air of confidence.
And prepared.
Yeah, because there's no reason... successful people, you say this all the time, they're not different, it's just what they do that makes them special. They're still just people. So you go into the golf game with whoever you're playing against like they're people. You go into a listing appointment like they're people. It's just you go in and you just do your thing. Yeah.
I think sometimes when you get on the tee, well, I know you've been thinking a lot about your swing for a long time.
Yeah, but I'm done now.
But now he's done. We're going to hold him to that. But
I am.
Yeah, where you get to the tee and it's just like, okay, I'm going to crush this course today.
Okay, I want to also, to be fair, I have been thinking a lot about like technical stuff, but golf is golf out of all the sports, I'd say is the most mentally taxing.
Okay.
Because it's so precise, there is all this information. You have to master a whole bunch of different elements too. You got to hit the ball well. You got to chip the ball well. You got to putt it. Like putting and driving a golf ball itself, that's like two different sports.
Right.
That's like comparing home run hitting and pool.
Right.
So there's a lot of elements you have to figure out.
Like, do you think Aaron?
But I do believe that you can figure it out with enough time. Getting that lesson with Rocco Mead, or no, it was when I played with Colin Montgomery.
Yes.
He said that he figured it out in college.
Right.
And now he really hasn't thought about much since then.
Okay.
So it's possible to just get the formula, know what works for you, and then just maintain it and sustain and compete.
So fingers crossed.
I don't need to cross my fingers. I got it.
Okay, well, look at him. Now he's got that air of confidence. But always stay nice, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yes, be humble and kind.
Totally.
We went to Tim McGraw. It's just like Tim McGraw.
What a show.
Speaking of which, so it's close to, it's going to be election time in the United States. So hopefully, whoever gets in, they'll be good to Canada. Because what we want is we want to see low interest rates. We want to see lots of work. We want to, to all be healthy and, because it's really cool. Like if any of you travel, Canadians have a lot of respect.
Yeah. And
people really love Canadians. So, and I think that, because we're nice people, generally speaking, right? I think.
Yeah.
So I think that, so it'll be interesting. That's one thing I'll watch. It'll be, I'll probably watch CNN and
you and everybody
see, just be curious on who wins.
Well, it's almost like a sport down there. We're talking about that a little bit on the news, how they're talking about like battleground state.
Right.
Like we would never use that terminology.
Sure.
Because it instills that you're going against each other. It's
like
we're all in this together.
Right. Like
without getting too preachy.
Right.
And without getting too political.
Right.
We don't want to get too political.
The difference with the United States is they get to vote for their president.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Where we vote for the party who elects our prime minister.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit different. So I think that's why
it's more like picking a team.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why in the States it's a bigger deal because because everybody has a say. So that's sort of cool about their system. So either way it goes, as long as they treat Canada well, I'm happy, and the real estate markets will be happy. And so what else? It was Free for All Friday.
Free for All Friday.
We talked about first-time home buyers. What about talking about sellers?
Okay.
And if you have a house and you want to sell it, like what are the the trade secrets to sort of maximize the sale price?
Yeah.
When you go to sell.
Well, you're the guy to ask. What are the trade secrets?
One of the things is, I always say to clients, we want to be as greedy as we can, but not too greedy where it's overpriced and it doesn't sell. So first step is pick a price point that's like as high as we can go, but not too high where it could be looked after. Step 2 is, like I referenced on the other one, make sure that the photographs are excellent and the floor plans are excellent, because today everybody's looking at properties online. And right? And so they're swiping like they do on Tinder, right? But they're doing that with real estate listings. So make sure your pictures really represent your product.
You're getting me in trouble if you talking about Tinder. Like, Tinder, right?
You got a girlfriend.
I know, and I found her on Tinder. Bumble, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, we knew each other before, but Bumble was the thing that broke the ice. So we're working with what we got in modern age.
Right. So when I met Leanne, like, there were no dating. I don't even know, was there internet? Barely.
No, there was just your bass guitar.
It was just, and we would go to, I played in a band.
Yeah.
So that's what I was just reading the other day, go figure, that podcasts are like the new rock band. So before we were all like, hey, let's get in a rock band. Now it's just like, hey, let's start a podcast. Let's start a podcast or be an influencer, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So everybody's on their phone. So
right.
So getting back to selling, so that's a couple of the things. The other thing too is, I think, everything is based on the supply and demand principle. If you have, let's say, more buyers, that creates more demand. And if there's more demand, what does that do to prices? Usually brings prices up.
Right.
If there's little demand and there's not as many buyers, typically the price goes down. So one of the things that, I do, that I've done for a long time, is I do a lot of advertising, because that creates a lot of awareness and creates a lot of demand. So I think everything you can do, like all realtors do have their own sort of special sauce, but I've always been a very aggressive marketer, and, have excellent pictures, floor plans, do home video tours, and just, and then be, what I like to do is almost create we put it on the market, because sometimes these coming soon campaigns where they'll put a house with a coming soon topper. The problem with that, if it's not listed, they get a lot of calls, or they might get calls from the neighbors that say coming soon. So they want to know the price, and sometimes it sells before it even hits the market. I don't particularly like, nothing against the coming soon campaigns, but I really don't want to let anybody know that it's on the market until everything's ready to go. It's ready to go launch on 1,000 websites. It's ready to do all the press. It's ready, the sign on the lawn.
Because those first few days,
everything launches at the same time. So that creates the most interest, where maybe somebody just driving by, it's not even hit the market, they buy it, but you missed out on all that extra potential buyers or that demand. So I always say, once I put the sign up and get all the ads, it's all right on day one. So everybody has the same shot. And I find that works well with the sellers. So.
How do you think you've managed to, because I feel like there's certain realtors that'll like only sell luxury properties, or there's certain realtors that'll only focus on condos, apartments, stuff like that.
Right.
How have you been able to kind of deal with all of those different price ranges? And
I think a lot of it is because of, my age.
Okay.
So maybe, from the start I was selling more of the condos and the townhouses, but I've sort of moved with the, I've aged as my clients have aged.
Right.
Right. So they've then went from, the condo to maybe the sort of the standard home to more of a luxury type property.
Right.
So that's
just experience.
Yeah, I think that, so it can be good to niche in a certain market, but I find Victoria's pretty much, I find sort of working with all types of properties, because usually then you're like, let's say, you've got a luxury property, but chances are, your kids don't. And they're looking for a realtor. And sometimes if they think you just specialize in luxury properties, they might say, well, John, I didn't call you because I know you're only selling properties like we have, so we didn't even think you'd want to spend your time on our daughter who's looking for $500,000 condo.
Right.
I'm like, wrong. I want to work with them all. So
yeah.
So that's if that's the only problem with niching.
Right.
Sometimes because I go to a lot of sales conferences in the U.S. and I remember that a guy and he was selling in Newport Beach. Now this is dating me. This is back in late 90s. Jim Burns. He did pass away of cancer, unfortunately. First year in the business, sold 30 houses, did 30 million in volume. His average price was $1.1 million. Now this was Newport Beach in it was like 93, 94. And he was like the man. It was just like, wow. Now in Newport Beach, I think their average is like 4 or 5 million. But then it was like $1 million, 30 deals out of his first year. Just a really nice guy, worked sort of an area. But I remember him sort of complaining to me that he's losing business because, many of the people, they're not calling him because he's like, he only does the luxury.
Right.
So, whether you're specialized in condos or starter homes or luxury properties, that's one way. But I tend to sort of, go.
And maybe it's a little bit of, it's like you're kind of how you're raised too. Maybe you have
sure.
both, perspectives of
yeah. Tommy Day's son, bus driver, BC Transit, 35 years. And
right. And then you've done well for yourself.
So, so it's, and it's Victoria.
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, it's only, it's a half hour from one side of the city to the other.
True.
I grew up at Prospect Lake. I went to Stellies and then my last year at Spectrum High. So I'm sort of, and then lived in Esquimalt. Now I'm West Shore. So I'm really sort of, I've been all over Victoria.
Right.
So that's my shtick a little bit.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then I think the ads.
Yeah. And you love it. So
it's
you just
fun.
Love selling. So why sell just one specific, when it's like, it's fun to sell, you're great at it and you
Yes.
Because it's
not.
You like meeting people too. You talk about that all the time with
totally.
Your clients.
You've got to like people to be in sales in general.
Fair.
Like if people like upset you, it's not a good career to be in. So you've got to sort of like and remember this. I'm not doing when I'm working with somebody. I'm not selling them. I'm not doing it to them. I'm doing it for them.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. So there's going to be another. If that house isn't the right house, then if they're not feeling it, there's lots of other houses to look at. Mm-hmm. So like I said, you're not really selling when you're working with buyers. You're really not selling. You're basically opening up the doors. You're watching them, helping them pick the house that they want to buy. Now, once you write the offer and you're negotiating the offer, that's where, you're selling the listing agent on your clients and, the offer. So that might be a little bit of selling. Really, the more of the selling comes in when you're specialized in marketing properties. And that's sort of what I've done.
That makes sense.
Yeah, by ads and create a lot of awareness and that. So
totally. What do you think's been your, what has been the most fun ad that you've done? Because you have done some kind of off the wall stuff.
The beach, with I think the guitar, it's in the soul guitar.
The soul guitar, probably.
That one where I was down at the Esquimalt Lagoon and, singing, and another one sold, and another one sold. Day team sells a house, woo! And then the punchline was, I can't sing, but I can sell your house. That's the one.
Iconic. That's a legendary ad.
That's the one everybody remembers.
Right.
I think it ruined my business. No, I don't know.
No, it's great. No, it's great because it's what we're talking about on the last episode where it's just being original and standing out from the crowd.
Right.
That's what some of these realtors on the Netflix shows and stuff, like having a Netflix show itself is a little bit original. So you got to do things out the box to get your product out there, right?
Right. Now those seem to be a little bit over the top.
Or the biggest rapper in all of Western Canada right now, Baby No Money. Like the stuff that he does, it's like, it's definitely off the wall type.
Didn't rap ruin rock and roll? Isn't that right? It's sort of divided. It went. That's why there's New Country, right?
No, rap did not ruin rock and roll. Rock and roll is still like.
No, it's not. Name,
Yeah, you're right.
We were
rock is dead.
Bon
Which is
Jovi.
dumb because I just went to Nickelback and it was probably one of the best concerts I've been to in a long time. But they're older now, right? You're right. There is
so a lot of us rockers went to sort of new country.
Yeah.
You know, but we got the old, as you know, I've been making racket here at the house. We've got the old band back together with a couple of my old bandmates. So that's sort of cool. We're doing sort of 80s rock. So I listen to a lot of Jack FM now because, you know, that's the music we're playing. So
you haven't moved with the times as well as Mom's moved with the times.
True. Mom's way cooler than me. Oh,
Mom's God, she'll be playing like Lil Baby upstairs and stuff. You don't even know who that is.
Right. Like I'm Taylor Swift. That's, you know.
Yeah, that's about as crazy as you get. Yeah.
But getting back to
how you like Post Malone. You went to Post Malone concert.
I did go to Post Malone. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So you got.
I think it was just because I was there with it seemed like all of the moms were there. All the moms love Post Malone.
It's true.
I'm telling you, man, it was all moms at Post Malone. I thought it would be a bunch of young rapper sort of guys, but it was all moms.
Yeah.
Moms
love Post Malone.
Right. Totally. So that's. But we're getting back to how do I prepare for a listing appointment?
Yeah.
I'm listening to like Casey and the Sunshine Band or, you know, like disco, like stuff, or maybe, you know, You Shook Me All Night Long, AC, cranking up the music to sort of get pumped up.
Well, it's like what we do with Stuff the Truck, right? Putting on that music around the holiday season because it puts people in a good mood and they're more likely to...
For the Goldstream Food Bank. Yes,
They're more likely to buy groceries and donate money and stuff. So
that's sort of a cool event.
You know, and that's where you really get to tell like the good songs, like the real great songs of the world are the ones that you can play in front of a grocery store.
Right. I know.
And attract people to donate groceries.
Whenever we're at like Quality Foods in Langford, I like always remember because we do every year we do the Goldstream Food Bank. We're there and we bring our big truck there and it's sort of Stuff the Truck, and Darren and I, we unload all the equipment, so we take musical gear and basically I'm out front with a microphone sort of singing and just cranking up the music.
It's a karaoke. It's like a parking lot party.
We do it Saturday and Sunday. Usually the first week in December for the... Oh, stop hitting the table. But it's actually quite fun, and you know and we've had it where like 30 mile an hour winds or 50K. We're holding down the tent. But
music is a powerful thing, right?
Totally.
We've talked about that. Like, I don't think we would get the donations that we've gone for the Goldstream Food Bank if it wasn't for the karaoke.
So it's
putting people in that happy.
And you're out, so you can't miss us because it's loud. And we're right by the front door, and we're rocking the music. So everybody, they're going in, and often Quality Foods makes up the bags that people can buy for $20, and then they drop it off, or they, you know. But we get a ton of food, and but I think it's because people, they're almost like we're guilting them in a little bit, right? Because
exactly.
You know, they're like, they can't miss us, as opposed if there was no music and we were just standing there, we wouldn't get, you know,
I don't think so,
no attention. So
that's a fun one. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so I think we should call it a day. Free for All Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed the segment. We're going to do these quite regularly,
as much as we can.
And what's the name of the podcast? Video podcast again? These
are the days.
With Darren Day Sr.
and Darren Day Jr.
Goodbye, everybody. We're going to walk out of the scene.
Let's walk
out.
Okay.
Ooh,
dramatic. Yes.
What a difference a day makes.